Hello everyone and welcome to the first ever Stew Crew video for Valorant gameplay and some explanation beginner tutorials. Today we're going to go over a little bit of the controls, a little bit of the nuance involved in the game, and a little bit of the settings you need to tweak up to get ready to play and be on level with everyone else. So to start off, this is just the agent select screen. Typically when you start you don't have 5 of these, which would be these 4 here and then Raze right here and Omen as well, sorry. So you start off with these 5 here: Sova, Sage, Phoenix, Jet, Brimstone. I'll have individual videos covering all of them in depth a little bit later on. Go ahead and check those out on the agent breakdown playlist on the channel when those get uploaded as well. So we're just going to start off with one of these characters just for the sake of having a character to play. So when the game starts out, I'm in the firing range. I'm not playing against actual people now, but you can see that there's a reticle in the middle of my screen. It's a first-person shooter. WASD is what you use to move. When the game starts out, the default mode of movement is running. You can see that I'm walking here because I've messed with my settings. This is the default that they have you start off with. Normally it's triggered on the left shift button to have you run, but let's go into the settings and let's have it be a little bit more optimized. So when we open up, we see accessibility, mouse sensitivity, inversion, stuff with the mini map, and then we see controls as well. WASD is what it's set up to be the movement, and then right here, the 5th option, we have the default movement mode. Mine is set to walk, meaning that in order to switch to the other one, you click the left shift button. You can see if you set the default to being run, walk now becomes your left shift button. So you have to hold down walking with left shift. Now the reason why I have walk as the default mode of movement is because sound is so important in this game. There's going to be a lot of times where people are going to be around corners. You're not going to be able to get a direct line of sight on them, and being able to hear their footsteps if they're running to get to a certain point, or if you're running, if you know you're trying to sneak away from them, is going to be crucial in whether or not you live. Here you can have the toggle run where you just click left shift to switch between walking and running. I have it off so that I have to actually hold left shift to run the entire time. Crouching is left control and toggle crouch is off. These are all the default settings. I haven't touched any of these. All I did here was switch the default movement mode to walk. Equipment, this is, shooting your guns using a bunch of things. Now, worth noting, aim down sight and sniper rifle aim here are also toggleable that you need to have, and then there's a toggle zoom level as well. And now this is for the 2 sniper rifles that are in the game. You can toggle between being as far zoomed in as you want or just the base level. So if we'll go into here, show you here, this is the base level of zoomed in, and then we have the toggle ability. Oh, I must not have bound it yet. Sorry about that. We'll bind it to 9 for the sake of this. So you zoom in, and this is the extra far zoom in. Toggle switching between them. So all I did was change this button here to toggle the zoom level between super far in and just a regular far in. Without setting that control, if you plan on using a sniper, what would happen is you would sit here like this and not be able to zoom any further in. If you wanted to get further in, you need to set that to be key bound. And then here you could just set some things like reloading. I have default set to R. All of these are default. Communication has stuff to do with pings, which you do with the letter Z as a default. Voice chat is something you can set up if you plan on doing team or party voice chat. Interface has a lot of stuff with the map. Now, worth noting, something they don't really directly tell you is that caps lock is what you use to actually open up the map and see it when you're in game. You hold it down, and from here you can actually click to ping stuff on the map and say you're on your way, caution on your marker that you need support somewhere.
Help.
And there's no mini map on this screen, but typically, or in this map, but typically there's a mini map in the top left, and everyone on your team, including yourself, can see where pings go down, so they know where to come and look for you. Now, one of the most crucial things about Valorant that they don't tell you super often is, or they don't really tell you, it seems like common knowledge for a first-person shooter, but it's really exaggerated in this game, is how important headshots are. So we're going to keep this target up here, and so the cool thing about this dummy when you're in the range it shows you how much each of your shots are doing. So if I shoot this dummy in the leg, you can see it did 25 damage to him. Wish that was a little bit darker, but that's okay. So the 3 zones where you could hit someone are the legs, the body, and the head. And they all do different amounts of damage. You can actually see that. This is your buy menu. You hit B to access it in between rounds. If you hover on a weapon, let's hover on the Ghost, which I'm using now. You can see underneath the damage tab over on the right-hand side, it says how much damage you're going to do to a body, head, and leg shot, respectively. And with the Ghost, which is the pistol I'm using specifically, the damage falls off happens at 30 meters, meaning 0 to 30 meters, you would deal 105 damage with a headshot, only 87 with your enemy being 30 to 50 meters away. So the damage is 20, about 20 there, and it's worth noting I have 100 health here, and in game you can buy 50 shields. So the difference between a 25 damage leg shot, a 30 damage body shot when they're this close to you, and a 105 damage headshot this close is massive. Headshots are extremely important in this game, as well as knowing how to, as you crouch, you can see my reticle gets a little bit closer. This increases accuracy, makes my spread a little bit better. You can see this is a little bit tighter together. It's more noticeable from further away. That was the spread standing. That was the spread sitting. Standing versus sitting. So, crouch shooting, getting headshots, being sneaky are some of the fundamentals of this game. Let's see if there's any other things you should look into. Video and audio both have their own settings. General has their own settings. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that you can actually customize your crosshair as well. This is the crosshair that I've decided to keep. I like green. It sticks out a little bit more for me. I can see it against a lot of backgrounds that happen in the game. You're going to notice that there's a lot of browns, a lot of whites and blacks, and a lot of blues. So you can sort of see that it sticks out a little bit against the blue. Some of the other colors I've seen that are pretty popular are a lighter purple color, which I don't know if they define that directly. Might be this cyan color. Oh, that's blue. Pink. Maybe pink's one. Yeah, I've seen pink a lot. You can see it here. This is a little preview that they have up here. I just noticed. So yeah, I like the green. Green sticks out a bit for me. They got this list that they set it default to. I've seen red a little bit, but green is what sticks out best for me, and that's going to depend on a lot of things. I know that red-green colorblind people probably wouldn't want to have green be the same color as the possible red on this pole and have that be invisible. That makes sense. I'm glad they sympathize with that. So yeah, these are just some of the basics. I'll show you real quick how to get to the range in case you're ever wanting to test something out. The range is a great place to go ahead and look and go ahead to test stuff out with agents and everything. So you go to this play menu. Typically this is what your party is going to look like. Now you can go to custom game here, or you can actually go down here any of these menus. So when you're selecting your game mode, you can just hit practice right here. These are the 4 different practice modes that they let you have. I like going into the open range because it has that dummy target that's there. You just click enter range. It's going to load in for you. Range is always the same. It's the same map for you every time. It's going to have the same load in screen, which you'll see in just a minute, the same agent select screen. And that's where you can go and test a bunch of abilities. So I'll show you real quick just one thing that somebody might want to test in case they weren't super familiar with the game. Maybe you see Jet, you think she looks cool because she has a really powerful ultimate where she gets to throw a bunch of knives. Maybe that appeals to you. Now, it's worth noting, I'm using my ultimate here with her. I'm throwing all my knives at once, and they're just refreshing. That's not typical of most gameplay. All of the cooldowns within the firing range refill automatically. You notice that down in the bottom left, my C, Q, and E abilities, which typically you have to buy charges of each of these in a normal game, but because we're in the practice range, they're full. You'll notice that they also refresh. So I should only have 1 charge of my E right now. If I use my E, which is a dash forward, you notice it just instantly refills itself. Same thing happens with C, which is a little smoke cloud she throws out. I'll get more into that in the Jet specific video. You'll see that it just automatically respawns. And then her last ability, if you wanted to test it, let's say you're trying to figure out, well, I don't understand Jet's cube. It looks like an up arrow. It just looks like an up arrow. Well, you could, well, let me hit Q real quick. Oh, okay, it looks like he floats up. Well, I think it'd be funny to do this a bunch of times. You just do it over and over again until you get sick of it, or I believe there's a ceiling that they have. Okay, I was pretty sure there's a ceiling. But yeah, so that's just some of the things that you can do in the practice range. It's a really good idea if you, I know that a lot of the numbers that the guns have on the buy menu seem pretty straightforward. You know, damage doesn't fall off, apparently, for the Marshal. But you can see you did 85 to the leg there. Well, that doesn't, the buy menu doesn't say anything about leg damage. It says body and head shots. Typically, you're going to be wanting to aim for the head and body with sniper rifles anyways. But there's a lot of small little nuances like that that maybe you just want to test out, see the actual numbers. And it's also worth noting that one shot to the leg with a Marshal only dealing 85 wouldn't be a one-shot kill, even if your opponent didn't have armor. Now, if your opponent does have armor, you hit him in the body, it's a one-shot kill. A lot of the times, people are going to prioritize getting armor most of the rounds after round 2 or 3. They're going to prioritize having some armor, meaning your body shot with a Marshal isn't going to be a one-shot kill. So through the rest of the game, if you hit them with a headshot, no matter if they have full armor or not, it's going to be a one-shot kill. And that's very good for the Marshal, for example, because this is only an 1100 cred gun. I believe it is one of the cheapest guns you can get outside of a sidearm. You know, you have an SMG, it's 100 cheaper, a shotgun that's 200 cheaper, but for a sniper rifle, getting that range advantage for just 1100 is really good. So you'd have to experiment around with what guns you like. You know, maybe you like the Vandal because it deals a little bit more damage. It feels like, you know, the Phantom has a little bit more fall-off damage. You can see the Vandal doesn't have any fall-off damage, while the Phantom has fall-off damage at 1530 meters. But the only, you know, the difference between the Phantom and the Vandal is the Phantom has a silencer on it. Some of those feel a little bit. Some of them have different spreads when you shoot them. You'll notice it. A bit more of a jump. There's a lot less of a jump when you're crouching. So the range is a really helpful tool to get into seeing what all the guns can do, seeing what they do at different distances. You just shoot these to readjust the target and the dummy. You know, get used to shooting at a longer range. Yeah. Practice range is a great tool. You should definitely utilize it, especially if you want to get used to how the spread works on some guns. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me over this Odin because it's pretty loud, so I will explain it real quick. So you're going to notice how if I'm aiming down at the center, I'm just going to hold the fire button down. You're going to notice how my reticle is going to stay around here. I'm going to try and keep it around here, but my shots are going to be landing up here, and that's just because of the spread of the Odin. Something you wouldn't notice unless you played with it a lot, or if you held down the button a lot, which a lot of the time with this game, you're going to want to be burst firing because accuracy is so critical, like we were saying with the headshots. So for the example with the Odin, like I was saying, you're going to see how for the most part I was trying to keep my reticle right here, and it went all the way down here, all the way up here. It's even worse if you're not aiming, if you don't aim down sights, because you think your reticle is staying in the middle, but really you're shooting all the way up here. And that's a big deal of knowing between when to aim and when not to aim. It's actually affected a lot of guns as well. You can see the Bulldog here is just an automatic gun when you're not aiming. However, when you aim down the sight, the Bulldog becomes a 3-shot burst. And the same is true for the Stinger and some other guns. I'll get a little bit more into some of the gun nuances should that video be necessary. But I just wanted to introduce you guys to some of the tools, show you some of the settings you should get used to and set up, and things that I found to be the easiest. Last thing I just want to cover is talking about abilities real quick. So each agent in the game comes with 4 different abilities: your C, Q, E, and X. Your X is is always going to be your ultimate. And the way that ultimates work in this game is you have a certain amount of charges. You'll see that my ultimate says ready on the map right now, or on the scoreboard. But you also see down in the bottom right side, right next to my ammo, just above where my hand is, little handle wiggle right there. The X thing has these little diamonds underneath it. Those are your ultimate charges. In order to have your ultimate ready, you need to have all charges available. So mine is available because I'm in the gun range. You start the game with 0. You get an alt charge every time you get a kill. Every time you die, every time you pick up an alt orb on the map, which is just a little interactable thing that you click F with, or you hold F on it to start it. Kill, death, alt orb, and every time you either plant or defuse the spike, which is explained a little bit in the opening tutorial. It's basically like search and destroy from Call of Duty, the CS:GO game mode. I can't remember off the top of my head, but one team plants the spike, one team defuses it, or the time limit runs out. All of your other abilities you're going to have to purchase in the store. So, some heroes have certain abilities where they get them for free. Jet, for example, gets her E ability, and typically when you use it, it would go on about a, I think, 30-second cooldown, and so you'd have to wait for that cooldown to refresh. Or no, I'm sorry. With Jet's ability, the two little X's that are sitting above it, it's kind of pale. Let me see if I can get it. Yeah. Just above her E, you can see those two little X's. Those work just like your ultimate. If you get a kill or a plant when your E is down with Jet, you'll get one of those charges. When you hit 2 charges, you'll get your E ability back. So you don't actually have to buy it, but her Q and her C abilities you would have to buy here in the buy menu. And that's how it works with a lot of different characters in the game. Let me switch to someone who I can show you another example. Sage, for example. When you get into the game with Sage, you would not have access to your barrier orb or your slow orb, each which has 2 charges. You have to buy the slow orb twice, and the barrier orb only once. They have differing, costs. The healing orb, however, even though it shows up in the buy menu, you would not have to purchase. You just get the healing thing, and you get to use it on either an ally or yourself. I'll get more into that when I cover Sage, but it would go on a 45-second cooldown after using it, and you can see that hers doesn't have any charges above her E. That's because it's just timer specific. So after 45 seconds, it would come back up. You could heal yourself, or you can heal an ally, and that's not something you ever have to purchase. Now, there's a lot of nuance with how abilities work, just per agent. I'll get into those whenever I cover all of the agents individually. But for now, yeah, I think it's a good stopping point to just, serve a little baseline of how to play the game, some of the little things that they don't tell you. It's worth knowing that you should definitely look into some tips and tricks for any agent that you're really liking. And yeah, I hope you guys like it. Go ahead and comment below if there's anything that you'd like me to expand on or anything you'd like me to cover in a future video. And I hope you guys enjoyed the content. Go ahead and throw me a like if you don't mind, and have a great day.